What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Monday Trifecta coming your way yet again. The official regular season has come to an end, so we're into the playoffs. So a lot of playoff talk we got coming your way. We also have a one-on-one with Ben Fuel that we had this last night in the studio. So we got a lot of good stuff coming your way. We got four teams in the MCC going to the playoff. 2 from the 4A, 2 from the 3A. Let's start with Chiawana, who's been dominant, the MCC champs this season. They have Meade on Friday at 6 p.m. First of all, probably not the best time to have a game, especially when we have a 6 o'clock newscast, but
no. They don't care about us, though.
Yeah, they're not really.
They do it because, and I know they do it an hour earlier so that they can get home an hour earlier.
Yeah.
The visiting teams. But yeah, it's not great for our time zone, our timing slot, and we'll be running around, obviously, that day. But Meade and Chiawana. Meade, we've seen Meade play a lot of crossover games with the MCC. They've been in the playoffs quite a few years recently, and GSL was really unsettled. Unlike us last week, we knew who was going into the playoffs, but the GSL did not. There was a lot of win and you're in different scenarios, so Meade had to play a very meaningful game last week, but they obviously didn't get the top seed because they're going on the road to take on Chiawana, and that is a good thing for Chiawana. They could stay home. They can rest up, even if it's only a couple hours, but even a couple hours of recovery is better than not a couple hours. So, and they're a little banged up. So I like this matchup because Meade comes from the Prosser tree. Sonicson is their head coach, who is Aaron Sonicson's brother over at the Suns. So he's bringing a very similar thing. He's a guy switches it up a little bit, but yeah, I mean, they've already played that type of offense before. It's an RPO style, and their defense, as we know, plays very good against those styles.
Yeah, I think for Chiawana, it's going to be really important that they get host this game because, like you said, they will be without the services of Kobe Young, who's injured. Gabe Shills, you have an injury update on him. He's going to
give it a go.
Aggravated the injury, so it kind of there's no certainty that he'll be able to play the whole game because he does have an injury that you can go on it, but you also can re-aggravate it at any point in the game. So I think them hosting at home, they'll have hopefully the Chiawana Riverhawk fans. They'll also probably have a bunch of fans in the community that aren't going to the playoffs, just coming out to watch some good football. So that'll be the big game for Chiawana against Meade on Friday at 6 p.m. The other 4A team is the Hanford Falcons for the second time ever. Won the Atomic Bowl on Friday. I know Brett J was really wanting to win that game. It was great for the team, great for the community, so a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. They are actually going to go on the road at Gonzaga Prep. I haven't seen them play, haven't ever seen them play. I think you've probably had more interaction with them. What do you think that they'll be able to pose against the Falcons in the playoffs?
Well, Gonzaga Prep will get that number 1 seed, and we talked about, I think it was last week, that this was the same matchup as a year ago. Hanford took on Gonzaga Prep on the road, and they had a 3-touchdown lead, and then they let it get away from them late. So we talked about it, and you said, I want this matchup again, and they're going to get it. They get the top 4A team out of the GSL, and Gonzaga Prep is one of the best programs on the eastern side of state for every sport. Whatever sport you look at, they're going to be very competitive, and they're going to run it. They run like a little wishbone type thing, a little option thing, so they're going to run it right at the Hanford defense, and as we know, the Hanford will go as far as their defense will take them. So if Hanford can stop the run, they're going to have a better chance of winning this game because the Pups, sorry, I always go back and forth. Yeah. But the Pups, they don't have a huge passing attack. Even when they had Devin Culp, who went to Washington, is playing at Washington, they still didn't throw it to him very much. They gave it to him on handoffs and stuff. So historically, they're a running team, and if they can shut that down, but also that takes away Hanford's strength because their corners are the better part of that defense.
Yeah. They got athletes on the outside, like you said, and it's going to be important to get Easton Weishide the ball and allow him to make plays. Also, our Kamari Dermis, that was the name, was escaping me. Kamari Dermis has really come into his own the last couple games. I know they've been doing it by committee at the running back position, but he's really gotten some momentum, and so there'll be a very interesting game. Like you said, payback from last year. We'll see what happens in that matchup. Kennewick, the number 1 seed out of the 3A, will host a playoff game at Lamson Stadium against Shadle Park on Friday at 7 p.m. It was really great to see Blaine on the sidelines.
Yeah.
That's number 1. It's great to see Blaine on the sidelines. It looked like he's in good spirit. Elijah Tanner took over the last couple of weeks at the quarterback position, but the key to them has always been their front 7 on defense and Miles Mayowski in the backfield.
Yeah, and it was great to see Blaine was in better spirits. I talked to him, just said, hey, keep your head up. And, injuries happen, and he seems he's in better spirits, and it's great to see because these kids are all just 17, 18 years old. So even if they do have an injury, they still have literally their whole life ahead of them. And so let's try and keep their spirits up and make sure that they know that they do have their whole life ahead of them. And even if it's not football or if it is football, there's a lot of other things out there. But yeah, Kennewick, Elijah's come in and done well. He's done what you want from your backup quarterback. He's come in and stabilized the position. He went out and won the game 2 weeks ago. So he is someone that they're starting to be able to rely on. He does wear the two gloves like good old Teddy Bridgewater. But like you said, they always have that luxury. They don't need him to go win a lot of games, but they do know that he can, because when you have number 18 in the backfield, just keep handing him the ball, and Miles is going to usually do what he does and pick up a lot of yardage, and that's a great luxury to have. And they're going to go up against Shadle, which is the matchup. If you're a 3A team, you want that matchup. You want to go against Shadle because there may be a little lesser of a team than Mount Spokane, and we know that Kamaikan and Mount Spokane are going to go head-to-head. And especially, like we said, for Kennewick, who they're still adjusting to a new quarterback who's in his third start, and Blaine had last couple years, so he gets to stay at home, like we said a couple weeks ago too. So that was good for Kennewick. They're going to get to stay at home, and they're going to make Shadle come to them and get after it. But then, like we said, Kamaikan will get Mount Spokane, which should be a very good game. A couple of top 10 teams in the state at certain points in the year, and I expect this one to be a very, very good game.
Yeah, that one will be at Mount Spokane on Friday at 6 p.m. One of the main things that I'm looking at with the Braves is, bouncing back from a loss against Chiawana. It seems that they were able to bounce back and get some of the stuff that they wanted in, and while at the same time allowing some seniors to get some playing time and resting those guys. Going on the road, some of the keys for them is you have potentially the MVP in Tuna Alta here. Use him. Because in the playoffs, you got a sophomore quarterback. Henry's been great. You know what I'm saying? He's been very, very good for a sophomore quarterback. However, it's different when you're playing football in November. The ball's colder. The field's wetter. That plays to having a great running back, which they do. Get the ball to Tuna. If he has to touch the ball 30 times, that might have to be the key to success, especially being on the road, because if you can control the time of possession on the road and keep that other offense off the field, you put yourself in a better position. Plus, you have the top 5 receivers in the MCC, so you have weapons that you can use, but it's got to start with Tuna.
Yeah, and they're going up to Joe Albee. That's where a lot of Spokane teams will play their games. They're up at Joe Albee Stadium. And this is when Tuna came into his own last year. Last couple of years of the regular season, and then playoffs, he just dominated. He went for over 200 in their round 1 matchup, and then he just kept pouring it on. So I think Biggs... big shout out to Biggs, who got his seniors in, like you kind of mentioned, like Lucas Castilleja got in there, who was the starting quarterback last year. Didn't get to play a whole lot this year, but they're rotating it in. So good for Biggs to get those seniors in. And understanding, that's part of it, like just understanding that these are kids. But then kind of more X's and O's. I think Biglin is a very good coach, and he knows, like, okay, playoff time, we're not gonna screw around.
Yeah.
We're gonna give it to big number 4, and he's gonna carry us as long as we need to do that. And then the nice thing is, if he loosens up their defense, they stack guys in the box. Henry has shown he's got good enough arm, he's got good enough vision, he throws a good ball, that he's going to find his guys open. And so that's where I think you're going to start banging. The other side of it, their defense needs to stop the Greater Spokane League's number 1 rusher, too.
Yeah.
And so we saw what Chiawana did to that Kamaikan defense with their backup running back.
Yeah.
So Kamaikan's got to... It's all going to come down to the running game on both sides. If Kamaikan's got to stop their run game, and you got to rely on your run game. So I could see this game kind of being, if it goes the way that you just running the ball a lot, it could be a fast game.
Yeah, and you said this when Chia went against Union. I think you've said this a lot of times when our teams go on the road to play tough opponents. You have to strike first.
Yeah.
If you can strike first, then you can really just hold the ball with Tuna and then make plays, like you said, when they stack the box and get it to, pick your poison, Kellen Rutz, Woodley Downard, Messiah Jones, whoever you want to get the ball to, you can kind of get one of those guys. So that's going to be a very interesting game.
I would like to see them get the ball to Messiah Jones a little bit more.
Yeah.
He is a big time wide receiver. He's first team All-MCC last year, and he's gone a little bit quiet, I would say, in the last couple of weeks, and he always has a huge size advantage.
Yeah.
So I would love to see him get more involved, because we know what Woodley does and we know what Kellen does, and then if you could get Messiah involved too, man, it's
So
going to be.
it's a four-headed monster that's
Yes.
going to be very hard to stop.
Yes.
Prosser won the CWAC championship for the second year in a row this weekend.
Champs.
You've been big on Prosser ever since they started to, turn things around, and they've been very resilient, having to deal with a couple of adversity of injuries and certain things, but they were able to string a bunch of wins in a row together, and for the second time in a row, CWAC champs.
And they came back in this one, I believe. They came back from a 13-point deficit at half. They come back and win this game. They've now pushed it to, we were in week 9, so now they are 7-2. They've won 7 in a row, and I went out to practice this week, and yes, they feel like they've had some major injuries. Jake Coleman went out too with a neck injury, who's one of their big linemen. But they feel like guys have stepped up. And in that program, it's something to be said about all these kind of upper echelon programs, wherever you are, whatever state. Like, you just know that, hey, if I get called upon, I better deliver because there's high expectations. You can't just go, okay, I'm going to kind of feel my way in. You need to step in and do big, and Caden Rivera's done very good as a quarterback. Just a sophomore learning everything, and he's working with Tanner Bolt out there, who's got him. I was out there for some drills, and he's really working on their footwork and wide receivers selling their routes and stuff. So they're working on the little things, and it's paying off big in the end. They took down Ellensburg again, their biggest rival. It's been a historic rival in the CWAC, and now they are headed to the state bracket. They are going to state. They were going to state no matter what, even if they lost that game, but you want to win.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things where you just want that momentum.
Yeah, nothing's ever given in sports, so you never know what's going to happen in the future. And if you have the opportunity to win any type of championship, whether that be conference, district, anything, you want to win that.
And they have a lot of trophies in that trophy case, so they wanted to add one more. So now it's going to be curious to see what they do, or what the brackets say. I do think there are crossover games, but they're not going to be involved. Othello is involved, though. Othello Huskies. They'll play a crossover GNL game, and let's find out who they play. I'm pulling it up right now. Othello, they don't know who they're playing yet. Great news.
To be determined.
To be determined, but yes, they're playing in to get in, so we could potentially have Prosser and Othello both into the state bracket, and that means Prosser gets a bye week.
Which is huge,
Which is,
especially at this
right
point.
now, that's huge. You don't have to play.
Yeah.
You got guys that are maybe got a concussion, or you got a shoulder issue, you got an ankle issue.
Everything hurts at this point.
Everything. And you don't have to go bang it for real all week.
And you get to watch film. That's something that's taken for granted, I feel like, in all aspects of sports. But you get film on almost everybody now.
Yeah.
And there's film everywhere, and so you can really just study, rest, and get prepared for
And hopefully they might self-scout because they don't know who they're going to play. So that they might have an idea of 2 or 3 teams. So maybe they can spread it out. But it's really good to just self-scout yourself too,
Yeah.
even if you don't know your opponent per se right now, because they're not going to know until after this week. But you can self-scout yourself and be like, okay, this is what we're doing well. These are things we don't do well right now, and be ready to go. I forgot about the bye week, and that's huge because, everyone's banged up right now. Everyone.
Every single time I talk to coaches or players, I'm like, how's everybody doing? And they're like, yo, you know, everyone's banged up, everybody's hurting, so it's really big for everybody to get a rest. Royal does not have a bye week, but they will play. So this SCAC, it does top 4 from the East, top 4 from the West. They go head to head. And lucky for us, there is a tiebreaker tonight. The SCAC East, we know the top 2 teams, per usual, Royal, Connell. We do not know the bottom 2, which is Riverview, Warden, and Kai B. So they're going to do a good old Texas tiebreaker tonight. Which, when you ask, do you know what this is? I immediately was like, no.
No, and it's not close. Okay, so they're going. Basically, it's going to be not basically. It is Riverview versus Warden.
Okay.
A little short game. They start at 25-yard line. College football overtime rules, basically. Okay. They get 2 possessions. If the game is out of reach after 2 possessions, I guess that would mean 14-0 because you can't come back. Then the game's over. And then the winner of that Riverview Warden will play Kai B. There's a lot of different things. That's just what you need to know. My question was,
why is it at Royal High School?
That's my question. Lampson wasn't available.
Edgar Brown wasn't available.
Fran Risch is not available because that turf is not good.
I was there on Friday. It's kind of jacked.
But I guess because they want to keep in the SCAC. And Warden's kind of an hour out. I'm trying to figure out the process, because if you're Kai B in Riverview, which is Kai B's 15 minutes out, that way. Just don't pay attention. And then,
But Royal is an hour and a half that way. Wherever you want to point, it's an hour and a half that way.
So I don't know, and I don't know what goes into that, but maybe I would have loved for us, Lamson would have been a great choice because then we just go down the street. But anyway, so we'll find that out. Royal, Connell, they'll both host on Friday, and we'll see who makes it into the state bracket. So that's what's going there. TCP, Columbia, Liberty Christian. Oh, I'm forgetting one.
Pull it up on the handy dandy.
Let's pull it up.
Computer.
Yeah.
Got to make sure we get all of our smaller school teams because we got to get everybody love.
Oh, they don't have it in here.
Our
boy, Coach Whitsett. Let me just pull this. Columbia, but bottom line, Columbia and TCP will be hosting on Friday. I know that. We know that for sure, so I don't have to go into that. And then I know Liberty Christian is going to go on the road. And here it is, because we love when people tweet. If you're an AD out there and you need some little help with tweeting,
please tweet.
Dude, tweeting is great because we
Shout
have
out
everything.
to Coach Whitsett. He always gives us
So
good stuff.
Mavton at Columbia Burbank, Manson at TCP, and Columbia plays at Columbia. TCP plays at Chiawana, just so everyone knows. Brewster White Swan out of our little bubble. Kittitasket out of our little bubble. So I got all three.
Nice.
Liberty
Boom.
Christian at Lake Roosevelt. So those are your TC or your 2B schools that are moving on. Do we got them all?
I think we got them all.
2, 3, 4. And then everyone, as always, everyone has a game this week. So it'll just depend. They're just rounding out and finishing up their year.
Last Friday Night Fever of the year for football, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Possibly, potentially.
If we have a lot of people advance on to next week, we might roll it back for
Do a
another
little something special.
a little extra.
We're going to do something new today because we're always trying new stuff to see what works and see what doesn't. We're going to play the 3-word game as it pertains to all of the teams in the MCC. So what we'll do is I think we'll go off the standings. Alan will go first.
Oh, okay.
And then I will go. Basically just 3 words that come to mind to describe the
So
season.
I'll go Chiawana, you'll go Kennewick, and Kamak, and we'll go back and
as we'll
forth
go like that.
Okay.
So number 1, got to give it to the host goat.
Chiawana.
The 3-word game for Chiawana.
I'd say dominant. Is injury riddled one word?
We can make it. We'll hyphenate it.
Yeah, injury riddled, and I want to say physical.
What was the first one? Dominant?
Dominant.
Okay.
Because we're absolutely dominant in the MCC. The only game that they did not win, and they still play very well, or they still played well enough to win that game, I should say, was against Union. But they were absolutely dominant in the MCC. Injury-filled because I feel like from like week 1, they had an injury every single week, and they're getting, I've heard off the record type things of what's going on this week, and there's some guys that may or may not be in there, so obviously they lost Kobe Singleton. Gabe is dealing with a foot. He came back, but then he re-injured it, and just guys are in and out. But JP's been in there the whole time, so that's good. Bridger's been really good on the edge, and that's where the physical portion is that defense. That defense is super physical, and Bridger coming off the side, Cameron Breyer, like they have a very physical defense, and they're fun to watch, and when they got it rolling, they stop pretty much anyone, and they make athletic plays. Like we saw Caleb Alvarez jump up and pick it from the DN position on Friday. And then
like Nick Bosa.
Yeah, and then earlier in that drive, Bridger just kept digging into the ball, and while the running back was fighting for more yardage, just ripped it out and held on to it. Not like ripped it out and the ball goes flying. He just ripped it out and then started running.
Grown man move.
Yeah, so they're a physical group. Those are my 3. We're trying to keep it quick. That wasn't very quick.
For Kennewick, right? I got Kennewick next.
Kennewick.
The 3-word game for them is front 7 featuring Miles. Because featuring is not actually a word, I don't think.
Featuring is?
But the FT, when you see in a song, it's like
yeah,
that's how I'm cheating the system. Front 7. The front 7 for Kennewick Lions have been probably the best, aside from Chiawana. You could make an argument, apples and oranges with either of those two. Their front 7 has dominated. And we really saw that in the Kamayakan game. They stacked the box and did not allow Tuna to go off, and their offense scored 21 points unanswered to kick the game off. And then front 7 dominated, and then they just gave it to Miles Miofsky, who's been great this season. Had it not been for Tuna Altahir, best running back in the MCC was Miles. So, we get another battle for those two next season. Front 7 featuring miles.
Oh, so they're supposed to get together. The
Yeah,
three
yeah.
words are supposed to go together, like a phrase. Make
No,
up a
like you
phrase?
can do it
Oh,
however
okay.
you want. Like yours was good. Like I just kind of
Okay. I wasn't sure if I did it wrong.
No. There's no rules. No rules on the Monday Trifecta podcast.
Okay, so I have Kamaikin, and I'm trying to come up with I would say explosive,
Okay.
because that offense is quick fire and it comes so explosive, talented. These are super lame, but explosive, talented, because they obviously talent also. If you look at you got Tuna and you got all the weapons and Henry's back there, and I would still say young, because they're still young. They're not really. They're gonna. They had senior night, so Tanner Solons is out of there. Nico Wiltz is going to be leaving. Kellen's going to be leaving. So they're losing some pieces, but pretty much all those other key guys are coming back. And anyone who wears number 1 on the Kamaikan Braves is a slot receiver and is fast, and they're going to find someone else to move in there. Maybe not as good as Kellen, but they always seem to find that little jitterbug type guy right there. So, yeah, I'd say explosive, talented, and young, because look out, they're good this year. Give them one more year to get real beefy.
Bigger, faster, stronger.
Man, they're going to be. I would put them in the top 5 favorites next year in 3A, even with whatever's happening on the West Side next year. I think they're going to have a shot.
Okay, so next is Hanford, right? I got
Yeah.
Hanford. 3 words for Hanford: offense over defense. Their offense is prolific. Easton Weisheit leads the MCC in passing. The great thing about him is I don't think he has a top 5 receiver in yards, which means that he is spreading it out to a litany of weapons that he has at his disposal. They put up a lot of points. They put up a lot of yards. However, the defense, like we said earlier, is going to be the key to whether they are going to advance. And so that's my only question for them. But their offense has been so great. But the defense has been something that if they can really hone on to it into the playoffs, they'll be very successful.
So I have Walla Walla, and I'm going with who saw that, and with question mark.
I like that.
Who saw that? Because when we went into this year at training camps, we didn't know what we were getting from Walla Walla. Coach Lufer was a new coach, and you never know how that's going to happen.
There's a quarterback battle.
And they come in and they go 4-4, and that is one of their better years in the MCC in recent memory. So, and no one saw it coming. And that just goes to show you that sometimes, even when, because I really like Eric Hysaw, the former head coach. He was a really great guy. He cared about his players, and he won a state title with the track team that year. But sometimes it's not always about if you're still a good coach. It's just like a new voice.
Yeah.
Sometimes a new voice will get the most out of the kids. And so I think Coach Lufer stepped in, and he's done a lot for that program. And he's turned them into a tough team. They just grind it out, and then somehow you see they're up like 7 points or something like that. They always seem to have a lead in the game. Every game, and I don't know, so I'm making this up, but it seems like every game they had a lead.
Yeah.
Except for, even the Chihuahua game, they scored first.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So they were, so who saw that? That's my 3 words for Walla Walla, because I think they might be the surprise of the conference this year.
Yeah, for sure. All right, who's after Walla
Pasco.
Pasco. Man. There's so many. Okay.
I got a phrase too for this one. But it's a 4. It's like a 4.
I know. I'm thinking like a couple of things are like 4 words, so to come up with 3. Pasco. Let's see. Run it back.
Oh, I got it.
And what I mean by that is Coach Jackson is doing something over at Pasco that is going to be very, very important for not only that program but for that community. Now they started off 3-1. A lot of that had to do.
My 3 words are quick start dogs.
Yeah, I think a lot of that had to do with schedule. They had a very good schedule in the beginning, and then it got really rough. So, young to players, sometimes you get a little bit too high, and that's what happened. Started off 3-1, and then I think did they win a game after that? I don't think they won a game after that. So run it back in that this program, like
culture.
You said, new voice, going to old school culture, great coach who motivates his players. Des Lacone will be back next year. Armani Reyes will be back next year. So run it back next year. It's going to be very exciting.
And I say quick start, and I know we're not going back and forth because they did get out to that quick start, 3-1, and then they kind of sputtered down the stretch. But for a young team or for a team that's still learning to win, that's kind of you need to go through these hurdles, and hopefully they say, hey, look, it was great to go out. If I'm Coach Jackson, I say it was great to go 3-1, but you can't lose the next 5.
Yeah.
Because that just takes everything away from it. So that's definitely a building block for next year. Now we have Richland.
I have 2 words.
Go.
Ben Fuel.
Well, that was their season. I got two words too. Humble reminder.
Okay.
A reminder that, like, as you said, nothing is given. And Richland, for the last few years, have been upper echelon, elite in the MCC, going to the playoffs. They won the state title 2 years ago. They were in the state semifinals 3 years ago. But I think as a program, from coaches down, this was a humble reminder that just because you have Richland and green and gold on your jersey, you can't just assume things are going to go well. Yeah. You need to go out there and you need to perform. You need to work hard. And when things get tough, that's when you prove yourself. And that's not when you should turtle. So I know that was a 2-word game, so we even went better than that. We were really good at this game. Yeah. So, and Ben was outstanding. And every coach across the league will tell you that Ben is an outstanding weapon, and they would love to have him on any team because he's a dynamic person. He's a dynamic player and a great person, too.
Yeah, and we'll hear from him in just a little bit. I had an opportunity to talk with him. When I talked to Mike Neithold in practice, he said his favorite thing about Ben Fuel is the 11 that shows up next to his name, meaning that he's a junior, and he gets him for 1 more year. He's been absolutely fantastic.
And I have no insight on this, but in high school ball, you have the best player touch the ball every single time you can, right?
Yeah.
Do we see him play quarterback next year?
No, I don't think so. I think because he is so good at receiver, and I think that's what coaches want from him. They want Ben to come to their school. I'm talking about college coaches. They want him to play receiver. I think Mike Neithold is such a great coach, and not only a great coach, he cares about his kids. I think he's going to put him in the best position not only to succeed in high school, but in college to further his education and have that education potentially paid for. I also think Harrison Westover did a good job. He wasn't anticipating being the starting quarterback this season. Got thrown into it. First-year starter, I think he did a good job, and I think the experience that he has this year will carry over next year. And also, Harrison and Ben have a great connection. I think they hooked up for about 80-plus receptions for this season, so I think they keep him at receiver.
I think you're probably right, but I bet Ben touches the ball a lot more, whether it's on reverses, on handoffs.
Oh, definitely.
I think at least, okay, this is just what I would say. I think you need to get him to touch the ball more and not rely on, because they're going to roll 3 to him. So how are other creative ways to get him the ball and get it to him where you just hand it to him and you know he's going to touch it?
Yeah.
So I think,
especially this year,
we're not doing a look forward, but that's the look forward. You need to get Ben to touch the ball as often as possible, so that offense can be to the point that it needs to go.
Because really, and Hermiston's next on me, but before we get to that real quickly, it was after the Hermiston game, which he had like 11 receptions, 200 yards, that people had film on him. Because, he didn't play a lot last year. He came out of nowhere this year, and so teams had film, and they're going to scheme against him. You have to be creative in the ways that you can get Ben the ball. Hermiston, 3-word game. We're going to go back on track. We kind of go off the rails, but that's always fun. That's why you tune into the Monday Trifecta podcast. Injuries ruin everything. Week 1, they were super high on their sophomore quarterback, Chase Elliott. He goes down with a season-ending injury. Sam Schwarzy did a great job coming in as the backup. I think he had the highest completion percentage in the MCC this season. But when you spend all offseason investing in a young quarterback and you give him the playbook and you say, this is the playbook, this is yours, you're going to take us there, and then he goes out week 1, really hard to bounce back from that. I know they also had some bang-up players on the defensive side of the football. Garrett Walshley was great, but injuries ruin everything.
All right, and I got the Suns. I want to say more than football.
Okay.
More than football, because yes, they're 0-8. They got to win. They got their win with Moses. That is great. And maybe they can win this week too, and they go 2-8, and they got some momentum going into next year, and they can manufacture that. But for me, it's more than football, because sometimes you just, in high school, youth athletics, sometimes you just don't have the same amount of talent as everyone else. Like, you can't if you don't have a great core group, that people graduate. This is how this works. You're not going out and like picking the next 5 dudes you want to come to your team. It's not free agency. You're not making trades. Like, you get what you get. And I think the Suns do a great job of making sure their athletes are also good people. And I do think they need to start winning some games in the MCC. I think they need to start getting some MCC wins because that'll help feel like they're moving in the right direction. But every time you see something on Twitter from them, it's the guys are out there blowing up tires or like working on cars and things like that. So it's also a good reminder for everyone that high school football is high school football. It's youth sports, and it's more than just football. It's building these men. And I always go back to work ethic. The work ethic I have goes back to me playing sports.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't even remember my 8th grade win-loss record. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you my 7th grade one. I could tell you my wrestling stats for my 8th grade year because I was undefeated. But but I couldn't tell you like in high school because I didn't really play. I played volleyball in high school.
That's another podcast for another day.
Yeah, another day. But still, like you don't always know the wins and losses, but you know where your work ethic comes from, where all these personality traits come from. And a lot of it, for me, comes back to sports, and I'm sure it's the same way.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, that's a 3-word game. That was a lot of fun getting to recap the season for all the MCC teams. We talked a lot about Ben Fuel because we went on a tangent.
Outscoring everybody.
Yeah, I love that stat. Outscoring opponents, Royals doing like 400 to 20-something. Yeah. Last night, had the opportunity to be in studio with Ben Fuel. He was the first ever guest host of Mixed Picks. We had a lot of fun. We also talked to him about his recruiting process this season, and I also talked to him about sneakers. Take a listen. What's up, everybody? The Monday Trifecta podcast coming your way. Mick Miller, and we have a special guest in the studio today, Ben Fuel, taking time out of his busy high school schedule. Season's getting ready to come up to an end.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I want to start things off talking about football, obviously. You've been one of the best players in the conference. How would you kind of like look back at this season? I know it was a little bit disappointing not going to the playoffs, but as you look back at the whole entire season, as you guys are getting ready to play your last game this week, what comes to mind?
Best decision I've ever made is coming to Richland. It's an awesome place. No regrets. It's a good learning spot for next year always.
Now, you guys, obviously a little bit difficult, as the transition and seniors graduate, new teams come in. But you especially had a big season this year. What went into you having a great year? And I kind of want to start like preseason, this summer. What did you really work on going into your junior year?
Harrison, our QB, he always would want us to go run some 7-on-7 out at Carmichael. So we had a group chat with all the receivers and DBs and stuff. So we could try to do that as much as possible, and that really helped with our connection.
What else do you do during the summer to train for football? Because football is interesting and different than basketball. Basketball, all you have to do is grab a ball and go to a gym and you can get a workout in. Whereas as a receiver, you kind of need a quarterback to throw to you. But how do you also, if you don't have a quarterback to throw to you, how do you get that work in the summer?
Yeah, actually I did play a lot of basketball in the summer, so that definitely helped with my conditioning. And then me and a couple guys always go to CBC, get our lifting in. Mm-hmm. And then kind of do as many cone drills as I can. Cone drills really help with your footwork, and it's always good.
So first game, you guys play the beast that is Chiawana. You score, actually. I think you scored the first touchdown of the game, if I remember correctly, up the left side. Mm-hmm. Deep throw, nice throw by Harrison to you, and you score. That's kind of where things got kicked off. Was that first touchdown a huge confidence boost for you going into the season?
Yeah, definitely. It's obviously Chiawana's a great team. Score, get up early against them. That was pretty cool. It felt pretty good.
And you had on the other side of you, Colby Singleton, who one of the best players in the area. And how cool was that to be able to go up against a guy who at the time was receiving a lot of interest from college schools, and then being able to perform against him? Was that also a huge confidence boost for you?
Yeah, definitely. He's a great player. I hope he can come back for basketball. I'm not sure if he will or what, but yeah, he's awesome. It was a great competition.
Next game is Hermiston. Now, was this your favorite game of the season, your best game?
I think that was my best game.
You had, 11 catches, 200-something yards, two touchdowns?
TDs, yeah.
What did you see from the defense in that game that really allowed you to have success?
They didn't really change any of their defense. I got a lot of one-on-one coverage. So, I pretty much could do whatever I wanted out there.
Now, after you take it to Chiawana, in your one-on-one matchups, and then you blow up against Hermiston, that's what Alan and I really were like, okay, this kid Ben Fuel he's pretty special. Was it after that game or after the one against Sunnyside that you saw, okay, these guys are definitely scouting against me now?
I would say about like second half of Sunnyside, because I had a really good first half against Sunnyside, so they started to change some stuff up. But I mean, we had a great game that game, so it didn't really work.
Now, what adjustments do you have to make, and what adjustments do your coaches usually make when they're throwing a linebacker, they're throwing an extra safety? Because even though after the Sunnyside game you thought that potentially your numbers would decrease, but they didn't. You kept increasing, you kept scoring. I think you scored through the first 7 or 8 games, had a touchdown in every single game. What do you do when they throw linebackers, they throw safeties at you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a lot to do with play calling and where I line up. So, I mean, outside they can just always put a safety and a corner on top of me. Slot, they can have the linebacker and a safety, but I mean, it definitely depends on the other guy's routes. If I can get a safety off me or a linebacker off me, depending on whatever everyone else runs, that would help.
Now, this past week against Hanford, you had 200-plus yards. Had a touchdown. It's not official yet, but I think I can go on the record with 100% confidence and say you took home the crown in receiving, not only in receptions. I think you had like 20 plus than the next guy, but yards and touchdowns. Mm-hmm. What is that? When you hear that you took home the triple crown in receiving, what comes to mind?
I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of it goes with my QB, coaches, whole team.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really caught me was going into the last week. Now, I don't know if you remember when Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa were going at it for the home run crown. It's like 15 some years ago. So you were like what, 3, 2, probably something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they were going at the halfway point of the season. It was clear Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire. It was going to be one of those two that were going to win the home run count. With you and Des Lacone, it was kind of the same thing, and that through the first 8 weeks, it was you, and then he subtly started catching up to you. And going into the last week, he actually had, I think, 60-yard lead on you.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
Did that at all come to mind going against Hanford, being like, okay, we also want to go win this game, but at the same time, I want to get that crown.
I mean, of course, he was going up against Chiawana, obviously the best team in the MCC, and I knew a couple guys in Chiawana, so I was talking to them, and they said their game plan was pretty much shut down Dez. They knew he was the top receiver right then in the MCC. So I was hoping I could get some good yards against Hanford, and they would shut down Dez in that game, and I could take the crown.
The most important thing is also you and Dez, both receivers, broke 1,000 yards. I think the highest receiver last year was 500,
I think it was 570,
something like that. So, is it cool to not only have Dez in the same conference, but also in the same grade as you? Because I'm sure next year, something that's going to be in his mind is, okay, Dez and Ben, best receivers in the MCC, hands down. He got me last year. Does that make it fun to have that little bit competitive spirit against a guy in the same conference?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the junior class this year for the MCC was insane. I mean, there was lots of guys besides just me and Dez. But I mean, me and Dez will definitely have a good competition next year. I'm excited to see what happens.
This whole entire year, three MCC MVPs for me. All of them in your class.
Yeah,
so
that's
this
right.
year is great. Next year is going to be even better because next year you're going to get bigger, faster, stronger. You'll be smarter. You have been my MVP throughout this whole entire season. It was after the Hermiston game. I told Alan, I told a lot of people, Ben is going to win the MVP. But you, Dez, and Tuna, those are the three guys that I look at. What can you say about Dez and what can you say about Tuna as to why they should win the MVP? And as my phone goes off, this is like a rookie thing. Alan Hoshida's calling.
Ooh.
What's up, Alan? But like I was saying, Tuna and Dez for MVP. What did you see from them this season that makes you think, they could win the champion, that they could win that trophy this year?
Yeah, I mean, Dez, he's always been giving me competition throughout the whole year, and going head to head, I think we had about the same exact numbers. So I mean, it could be either of us. And then with Tuna, he's been able to catch, run, whatever. So I mean, he has definitely more yards than me. I think he has more touchdowns than me too. So I mean, it could go to him easily too.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get to basketball, because you're also a basketball player, and that's my favorite sport, so that we'll have a lot of fun with that. Talk to me about your recruiting, because you can't have a year like you did and not have college coaches be interested in the player and the person that you are. What kind of some of the schools you're receiving interest from, and where are you kind of paying attention to looking to go?
Yeah, so education is a pretty big thing for me. So I went to a couple camps over the summer to a couple Ivy League schools. I went to Columbia, Yale, and Princeton. I've been trying to talk to Columbia a good amount, and then Georgetown over in D.C. That's another good school.
I'm from D.C., and I can tell you Georgetown's top of the top.
Yeah, another good school. They're going to come talk to me. And then I'm actually WSU gave me some tickets to go to their Stanford game, so hopefully I can get to like some Mountain West schools or Pac-12 schools to start looking at me soon.
What's like, aside from education, what is something that you really look at when you're, talking to coaches, talking to schools that interest you? Because not only are they recruiting you, but you're also recruiting them in the decision of, I'm going to go to your school or not.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Idaho this weekend actually, and the big thing that the head coach told me, he was like, the coaches, they need to sell you. You need to go to a school based on the coaches. And they actually did a really good job. They were actually really nice to me. So hopefully I can pick a school that the coaches are, really nice and good people.
All right, now let's get to basketball. Your team graduated a couple guys from last year. But are you the only returner from last season?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so they're going to look to you not only in football, but also basketball. You guys were playing in the summer leagues. What did you see from your team going into this season?
I mean, we don't have the most height, but we have, all of our guys are really fast. So we're going to play some fast basketball, a lot of fast breaks, probably a lot of press. I think a lot of people will underrate us just based on that. We graduated 11 guys, only one guy's coming back. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be really fun.
Now, basketball is probably the pettiest of sports. If you look at the NBA, like, there's Twitter beefs. Did you see Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns? That was like the funniest thing that I saw all year. Do you have a college team?
Yeah, I love UW.
Okay.
And Michigan, because I was born in Michigan. Those are probably like my top two.
Okay. And I know you said you don't really have an NBA team, but who are like 5 players in the NBA that you really like and really follow?
Well, I'm anti-Warriors, so.
So, Alan, you hear that? Anti-Warriors, so you guys got what you deserved.
Yeah, so no Warriors. I definitely love DeJounte Murray. I mean, he went to UW.
Okay.
That's definitely one. I love Joel just because of all of his beef. It's really cool to watch. Let's see. I love Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I like his attitude. I don't know. And then maybe even James. Actually, yeah, probably James Harden. I mean, it's pretty cool to see a lefty do all that stuff. And then maybe Giannis.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty cool to see a guy that can't shoot threes still score.
Yeah.
That many points to win MVP.
He's also like, did you like the go-go gadget dude? Like he or have you seen Space Jam when Michael Jordan like stretches out in the dunks? That's literally him, like in that he can take off from the free throw line and still dunk. Ben Fuel is also a sneakerhead, which I really appreciate because Alan's not a sneakerhead, and there's not a lot of sneakerheads. There's not a lot of sneakerheads in the Tri-Cities.
No, there's not.
Like, where do you go to get your sneakers? Because I go to the mall and they have like the Champs, the Foot Locker, but like they have kind of like the basic sneakers, but they don't have like the sneakerhead sneakers. So where do you get your stuff from?
I mean, you pretty much got to get it all online as we live here, unless you go to like Seattle, for a weekend or something. They have some good stores over there.
When did you first start getting into sneakers? Like I remember like in high school, I would buy sneakers, but I only bought them to play basketball in. It really was when I like got in college that I was like, okay, I'm going to buy sneakers to just kind of wear around.
No, I remember, I think it was second, third, fourth grade. I was at a basketball tournament. I saw some guy wearing some Pantone 11s, and as soon as after that, I remember that. After that, I loved sneakers since that. Yeah.
Are you a Jordan guy? Are you a Nike guy? Are you Adidas guy? Like me, I am strictly Nike and Jordan. Like I will not wear Under Armour. Don't wear Adidas. Do you kind of like wear everything? Or are you more loyal to one brand?
My top 3 are definitely Nike, Jordan, Adidas. I'll wear all 3 of those. I have pairs from all 3 of those companies. I'm definitely not an Under Armour guy, though. I mean, I don't see too many people wearing those.
Who wants those Steph Curry shoes, right? Like you can't really get girls wearing those shoes, right? Like there's nothing better than like coming into school wearing a fresh pair of Jordans. Like you come to school like wearing Steph's shoes, like your boys are definitely gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Top 5 best sneakers. Like if you had a credit card, if your dad gave you a credit card, unlimited, and he said, Ben, you can use this to buy 5 sneakers. What 5 kicks are you getting?
I'm going to get 1 pair from the Off-White collection. I don't know a pair, but I'll just say 1 pair from that collection.
So something Off-White.
Mm-hmm. And then probably a Bread Jordan 1.
Okay. Classic. Mm-hmm. Classic.
And then probably Nike Air Yeezy 2.
Okay. Oh, dude. Which one, though? Because
Oh, gosh.
the Red Octobers are like my favorite.
Yeah, probably Red Octobers.
Okay.
Probably. And then probably one of the first Adidas Yeezys, probably a 350, probably the Pirate Blacks.
Okay.
And then fifth one, oh gosh. Probably like a, nah. Maybe a Jordan 11. I don't know.
Which one? You
Probably-
said you saw the Pantone, and that was what really caught your eye.
I don't know, maybe a Concord. Bring me a Concord 11.
Do you have a Concord 11?
I did not.
Oh man, okay, I have a Concord 11.
Really?
So for your first basketball game, that's what I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna see you in the warm-up lines, and I'll just be like, "What's up, Ben?" And just point to the Concord 11s. What was I gonna ask you? I was gonna ask you one more thing. The original, the OG Jordan 11 breads are coming out in December.
Are they?
Yeah, I think that I could check my phone. I don't. It's the second week of December. Will you be picking them up?
I mean, I already spent a lot of money on shoes, so I mean, maybe.
Because I think the retail was going to be set at $220, and you know how it is. Like, people set it at $220, and then they buy a bunch of pairs and then sell them for like $300, $400. What was the last sneaker that you bought?
I think it was my Off-White Converse, actually, which is my favorite pair in my collection.
Now, do you wear them frequently, or because Off-Whites, like, they cost a pretty penny. So if you get a pair, you know, do you wear them for special occasions, or do you like to wear them quite a bit?
No, it's definitely a special occasion. Probably twice a month, I'm guessing.
Do you wear them to school, or you wear them to like a party, or wear them to hang out with your boys?
Yeah, I've actually worn them to a party this year, and I usually will wear them if, like, on Fridays when we dress up with our suit and tie for game day, I wear the Converse.
Okay, so I put you on the spot of 5 sneakers you would buy. But now last question before we get you out of here. What are the top 5 sneakers that you own? So I'm guessing the Off-White Converse is in there.
And then on my feet right now are Jordan 11s, the lows.
The gold ceremonies, which are very nice. I have a pair of them myself. Very good choice.
I have a pair of Ultra Boost. They're just like a khaki color. One of my favorite shoes to wear. Super comfy. Let's see. Probably my all-white Vans, because I probably wear those 3 out of 7 days a week.
Yeah, the Vans are great in that they look better when you beat them up.
Mm-hmm. And then probably just classic all-white Air Force Ones.
I think that we have the sneaker king of the Tri-Cities, that being Ben Fuel. I'm looking forward to the sneakers that you wear during basketball season. I know you probably go for performance over style, but in basketball season. But Ben Fuel, thank you so much for joining us on the Monday Trifecta podcast. You got a game on Thursday at Richland High School?
No, I think it's going to be somewhere in Spokane. I'm not sure what stadium yet, though.
So last game of the season up in Spokane against University. Great season. You've got my vote for MVP. The sneaker king, the receiver king. I called him Green Arrow. I don't know how big of a fan he is of that nickname.
I don't know.
Apparently
it's catching on.
It's catching on at Richland High School. So back to me and Alan at the desk for the podcast.
Good stuff there from Ben. Great to have him in here. I'm glad you got him in here.
Yeah.
Good for you for reaching out and him being kind enough to do that. We'll have to get more kids in here, and I shouldn't say kids, more athletes in here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was super fun. It was super fun because he's a huge sneakerhead, which there aren't a lot in the Tri-Cities, as you know. I'm a huge sneakerhead, so having
Hey, did you get those, by the way, those 2?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, okay.
I had to pay my rent, so
boo.
that was what I did. But another great Monday Trifecta podcast. Next week's going to be even more fun because we have playoff football coming up this week. So we'll be able to watch all these grades.
Playoff volleyball. We have CBC playing a playoff game. We have playoffs galore. Every day this week we have something.
So next week will probably be a longer episode, which is going to be a lot of fun for us, and we'll break it up and make sure that we have the rundown. So if you don't want to listen to something, you can listen to what you want to. But for Alan Hoshida, I'm Mick Miller. Thank you again for tuning in to the Monday Trifecta podcast. Playoff week, everybody. Have some fun.
Bye!